Welcome to the Regina Queen Show. Here I have with me Michaela Vega. Michaela Vega is here to share her story of what life was like as the victim of human trafficking. Michaela Vega is now a survivor. She has survived human trafficking. And she is here with us to share her story and also to give those of you some hint, those of you who have encountered this horrific crime, some hints and tips on how to come out and yes, how to come out. That's the main thing right there. We want you guys to come out. So welcome, Michaela Vega. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Miss Regina Queen. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. It is a pleasure to have you here. And it could, be devastating, and painful sometimes at sharing your story of abuse. And so I commend you on that.
Thank you, sis.
It's all about bravery.
It's a process,
Yes.
and we go through many stages of healing until we decide to face those inner demons and not let those govern our life anymore.
Exactly. And Michelle Diaz, um, Michaela Vega, um, we have, spoken many times before. And I had, no idea that you were a victim of human trafficking. And when you brought that to my attention, I really thought that was very courageous of you to come out and share your story.
I was scared for a long time. You know, when you find out it's your own family that deals with those things, it's a scary thought. But I'm not 12 anymore.
Yes. And I had no idea, because you appear to me to be okay, and that you haven't encountered, any type of domestic abuse, such as that human trafficking. But there's so many people, in our world, today who go around and, pretend to be okay and, doesn't share their story. And some will wonder, how does it affect that individual, to carry something inside, to hold something inside and feel, um, excluded, from the real world, you know, it has to be, it has to be very, very, very devastating. So, again, thank you for sharing your story and being safe and as you navigate through life. So, Makata, can you share your story of what life was like for you being a human trafficking victim of human trafficking?
Yes, absolutely. Um, I was the mere age of 12 years old when they first brought me into Boston under the disguise of coming to visit my sister out here. And little did I know that that's how my grooming was going to start. She first got my confidence and my trust by taking me to adventure parks and the beaches out here in Massachusetts because I lived in New Jersey with my mom. And I came from a very broken home, so she was trying to show me a happy world. My mom was an alcoholic, and my father wasn't present. I would always see her visit New Jersey with different boyfriends, and it didn't sit well with me, but I didn't know the extensity of what was going on. So upon arriving to Massachusetts, she brought me into the family business. Family business, Regina. which was the beauty salon.
Mm.
In this beauty salon, I was groomed in ways I wasn't allowed to be a young girl. I was taught how to wear makeup, look this way. You need to dress this way. She was pushing the modeling idea on me so that I would feel comfortable wearing little crop tops at 12 with really nice jeans. You have to massage the clients this way, learn to be a good shampoo girl. And it took a mental devastating toll on me. I was forced to do these things, and it took a turn for the worse, because the coming years before I turned 14, my mother signed over guardianship to my sister. And I was now permanently living in Massachusetts. And that's when my hell really began. She brought me here and she said to me, "You have to do everything I tell you to do if you want to have pocket in your money, child. Because I'm not going to give you the things that you think are going to be free." So I became a young working girl at the age of 12, 13, and 14, addressing older men. I had to be flirty. I was groomed to be flirty. They started tinting and painting my hair a blondish hair color, a red hair color. She would be what we call in Spanish the godmother or la madrina, and she would set up dates. She would say, "You have to get to know your clients that come here because it's good for the business." And it was like a hell I couldn't escape. And one night, I had to meet up with 6 to 7 men. I had to force and vomit food out to fit it for the next dinner. Years later, I came to find out she was getting paid for these dates. That's why they called her the godmother. She was selling and human trafficking me, and she was making the money. She always trained me up by saying, if they touch you here, you can't tense up. And if they give you tip money, you just do whatever they want. You're always going to have money if you do this. So I became numb to it. And I developed a no feeling or sensation. And I grew up not knowing what love was when men groped you, when they took you on Lamborghinis, when they took you all over Boston, from house to house, sometimes waking up, not even knowing what they gave you in a drink. And if I didn't comply, she would beat me senseless. She once put me in a really cold shower until I was numb. And she said, "Don't ever do that again. Don't ever bring shame to what I'm teaching you. Men are like a king. One breaks, you pick up another one and you continue on. They're just something you use for the moment to get ahead." So I wasn't allowed to reject gifts, gifting, money, tips. If they wanted to touch, I had to be okay with that. And one day, a finer, tall, Chinese kind of looking man that I would later come to find out was one of the pimps of the Boston Chinatown industry of human trafficking. He would pimp out a lot of the girls within a lot of the like big corporate associates in Boston. He had his eye on me. And it all started with him picking me up at the salon. And he would wine and dine me. He never touched me, but he would observe me. And he used to say, your white milky skin, you're so pure. I come to find out later in my research, when they refer to you as that, it means that you're valuable in the human trafficking industry. You're something that the buyers would view as precious. So there was, after many, many, many nights and dinings and picking me up and grooming me, observing me, he once took me to a Chinatown Hall gala. It's for those of you guys watching, it's an event where they gather a lot of the young girls from all different cities under the disguise of a big gala. They have you dress up in the best jewels, the nicest dress, the best dinner. And that night, my whole life changed. I came to find out that he had arranged a sale, and I believe they spiked my drink at the gala. I saw so many young girls as young as 14, 13, of course, dressed up with makeup and jewelry. One of them tried to approach me, and her master, or her buyer, quickly pulled her away from me, didn't allow her to make contact with me. Before I knew it, I was in some kind of hotel suite, feeling groggy, very out of it. And that was the night that I, sorry, give me 1 second.
It's okay.
Out. That was the night that I was gang raped by 8 men. They were corporate businessmen, and I remember waking up to a bunch of girls that looked like models, some of them Chinese, Honduran, Salvadorian, Colombian, wasted, naked, some of them with drugs in their body. A couple of men rolled over naked, some with half suits on, and I was very out of it. I vomited a couple times. I found some money, and I made a run for it with my bloody body, something that I found to cover myself. And I ran away. I never looked back. A few months later, I wanted vengeance. Something very dark overcame my heart and my soul. So I used wig, makeup, and some makeup artists that would prepare the girls for these events. I went to her, I confided in her, and I cut up 5, or was it 4, of the men's faces. And I ran for my life and went into hiding for a long time in New Hampshire. And in New Hampshire, hiding from that life is how I met my domestic violence abuser.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing what life was like being um, human trafficking. And as you said, Michelle, about Michaela Vega, the perpetrator, the people who groom these children, they have a name. What is the name that they call themselves? A person that grooms someone and traffic them and to take them to the organization to recruit.
They usually are called the godfather or the godmother, which is its code name. because they become the person who makes you feel comfortable, that you have to kind of obey them, that they're telling you they're taking care of you while they send you off from place to place and person to person.
Okay. Okay. Due to my research and studies, um, they re- usually recruit children that are in foster care from the Department of Children's Services. Department of Children's Services takes them in. Some individuals in that entity take children from the Children's Services who has been taken away from their parents in the home.
Yes.
They take those children and they introduce them into human trafficking too. They take them over to these other organizations, these other entities.
That is correct, Regina.
Yeah, and you are one who were that came from that life of a foster child. Am I
A
right?
broken home. My
A
were
broken
absent.
home.
And so my
Yeah.
groomer took advantage of that. And
Took advantage
they
of
were
it.
they were directly connected to a restaurant in East Boston. And when the girls came from broken homes all over the world in Salvador, Colombia, the owner used his money to promise them a life to work here. And I met a lot of them because I was taken to those restaurants for casual drinks with a fake ID at the age of 14. So you're right. They use the most broken, vulnerable, no parent to defend them, children.
Right. And Michelle Diaz, you know, there are so many forms of human trafficking. And some people think that, oh, it's just, you know, a white van that pulls up on the side of someone and snatch a child and throw them in there and take them off and, you know, rape them or and sell them. Um, do you know, can you give the audience some hints and tips on different forms of human trafficking?
Yes. It could be neighbors promising you to get papers to go to another country. It could be a job offer through a business, like it was with my family. It could be an arrangement that is being done between a DCF worker and a foster family. It could be through a school system with a teacher that sold out. And they'll make it seem like the child just disappeared from the bus stop. It could be right across the street. Somebody that's just watching your child, watching if they come from a broken home. They'll befriend the family like these men used to do. And everybody just has connections with someone that you just think is, oh, they're so great. They work in a court office. They work in a doctor's office. Lies. Follow the paper trail. Sometimes it's those that are closest to you.
And all these different entities, the schools, the Department of Children's Services, these are two main important entities that human society, you know, rely on. You know, because we do have, you know, there are some children that are in foster homes, over there in homes with their biological parents who are truly being abused and need to be placed somewhere safe. How do you know human society trust this entity? How can you put your child life into the hands and feeling that, you know, this entity can, you know, will take care of my child? you
Well,
can't trust it. How do we as parents sit at home and our children go to school, and we worry about our children being human trafficking, which the school is to teach our children, but we worry that they don't get murdered, they don't, get killed, the people come in and, individuals come in and, going on a rampage, shooting up the school, being human trafficking. How could we sit and, you know, back and just trust other people, these other entities? It's
well,
impossible today.
one of the things I always tell people is to build a strong foundation and communication with your kids, with your children at a very young age. It doesn't matter if they're 4 or 5 years old. I teach my 4-year-old stranger danger. There was one time a lady approached her. All she wanted to do was say hi, and she screamed in children's face, "Oh, stranger danger!" And the lady says, "Good job, sweetie. Good job." I teach my daughters that it doesn't matter if they're teachers. No one is to be trusted. I teach them the sacred code of their body to make sure nobody is touching them. I tell them that the only place they're supposed to go is from the classroom to their class groups, and a teacher should always have a badge with their picture on it. If they don't see a badge and a picture, scream danger, stranger danger, and run off and scream for help. In bus stops, same thing. I think parents should be very attuned to being there present to wait for their children or somebody that is trusted. And my other advice for people is, honestly, if it's necessary and you have the means to do it, homeschool. The origins of America was never to send our children into the system. It was to teach our children from our home. And there are a lot of mothers who are capable of this. You can do it if you do the research and you have the time. Keep your children with you. The school systems today are not what they were 40 years ago. This world has become a doorway to human trafficking. It's a multi-trillionaire business,
Yes,
and it's devastating.
it definitely is. I mean, human trafficking, like they make billions and billions of dollars off of humans.
Oh, I know. I know. I was told
Billions
by
of dollars.
one that one night where he aggressively had his way with me and I pushed off and I jabbed him in his personal parts. He said, "B," insulting me. He said, "Do you have any idea how much money I paid for you? For you to be so stiff and not even do anything that I even paid for?" I locked myself in the bathroom and I nearly almost slit my wrists just hearing that my family had a price tag on me. So it's
And
hard
then
to
it's so
recover from
sad.
that.
Yeah, it's so sad for it to come to your family, members, who you should be at home safe with, who you, put your trust in, who you, your family members who you grew up with. Like, it's so cold that, your own family member would turn against you for money to human traffic your body. And that's why it's so very important. We as parents, we need to be very mindful when it comes to, strangers and stuff coming, around. And sometimes a parent, a mother, a father, someone, their children could be dating someone, and that someone isn't safe enough for your child to date. They will human traffic you or end up in domestic violence. So our youth needs to be very, very mindful of who they pick and choose to be in their lives. And as parents, we have to be very mindful of who we let around our
Absolutely,
children.
Miss Regina. And the sad part is that pedophiles, pimps, godmothers, and godfathers are using these platforms, hang around schools, watch children in playgrounds, and like I said, they observe your everyday behavior to see if a teenager is just walking out at all hours on the streets. They observe the key things. Are they alone? Do they have involved parents? And do they operate off of lower energies? Are they always sad? Are they into drugs? Are they always on the street? And if they see any doorway, that is where these children and these young boys and girls are in danger.
Exactly. Then and so Michaela Vega, I would like to reiterate on about the price of this industry. And here I have a research. It is, to be true that this is a $40.3 million industry. People are in modern sex slavery, including 24.9 million in forced labor and 15.4 million in forced marriage.
That is correct. Some
Human
of these
trafficking,
girls,
yes, human trafficking is the fastest growing and second largest criminal industry in the world.
it is.
They get 150 billion a year in this industry. So this is a widespread criminal activity that is going on in our world today, and this is something that everybody needs to be mindful and aware of, and open up that third eye and pay attention to red flags when it comes to humanity, because we cannot just trust any and everyone. And like I always say,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, and that's not even touching the black market or the dark web, where children go missing because you have the big bidders requesting child sex slaves, homosexuals that want young boys as young as 7. So it is a very perverted industry. And Regina, I saw things I should have never seen at 12. Me and the girls in those groups and those houses and those meets, we were forced to do things you shouldn't be forced to do at 13 or 14 years old. It's just a sad reality.
Exactly. We are born, every human is born to be free. Every human is born to be free and shouldn't be taken advantage of. Every human has the right to live life freely. Every human has the right to move freely. If you're in a relationship and you choose to, get out, you have that right to leave.
Yeah.
You should have that right to leave.
So sorry, Miss Regina.
Oh, it is okay. It is okay. So, yeah, and I liked my research on human trafficking, and with the signs and the red flags, and just so I myself, and I can raise awareness and teach people, and other people show other people the red flags of human trafficking, and you really you address that already. And so, of the recruitment, the transportation, feeling, people coming in, making you feel like, oh, I'm going to take care of you. And when they say, I'm going to take care of you,
Yeah,
you got to be very mindful. or who
That
and where.
definitely means something way more sinister. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, thank you so much, Michaela Vega, for sharing your story here with me on the Regina Queen Show. And it's been a minute for me, but I'm so happy and blessed to be here again in this space. And I know the Most High, has placed me here. He put us all in the spaces where He chooses for us to be His servant and to serve His people. And I'm so grateful to have you here to share your story and to raise awareness of what life is like, um, being a victim of human trafficking, and sharing some of the signs and giving hints and tips, to prevent human trafficking. And I applaud you for that because it takes a lot of strength to share your story. As you go on to share your story, you go back, it takes you back to that life as you embody, your story. So it puts you back there. So it takes a lot of strength for that.
Thank you. I really believe that I was stripped of my childhood. And if there's one thing I could tell mothers, parents, and loved ones is pay attention to the grooming red flags. If somebody is eyeing out your child too much, wanting to spend too much specific time with them, gifting them something in particular, especially luxury gifts. I was trained that I couldn't wear regular teenage clothes. I was taught that I had to dress a certain way, walk a certain way, touch men a certain way. Oh, you're gonna get tips. You have to massage their neck, give them a scalp massage, earn your tips. I was stripped of what it was to be a child, and for a long time I was stripped of what it was to feel love. And I became promiscuous, and I didn't care about love. Sex was just sex.
Yes, and those three things there, right there, someone who are training you how to walk, how to talk, and withholding your earnings, those are red flags of human trafficking.
Absolutely. I wasn't allowed to have my own money. I wasn't allowed to call my mother most times without being monitored. And having that person there as a godmother, I had to obey. I had to subdue. I had to do what I was being groomed since 12 to do by the visual and by the actions. Or there were severe consequences, including the fact that one time she burned my fingertips by switching out the acetone with which I used to do nails with pure acid.
What was her reason? I mean, there's no reason to do something like that to a human being, but and
I believe it was the act of jealousy. I I think she noticed that a lot of her clients were probably requesting the younger, you know. So I think it was just spiteful, maybe to teach me a lesson because I rebelled a lot of times. I did not want to do those things. I suffered severe stomach problems from trying to eat 5, 6 meals before 11 p.m. From the time the dates were set to the times I was sent off to the times that she would pick me up and we would go to where, she lived. So it's a lot.
yeah, the pain and the suffering.
Oh, she never took me to the hospital. I had to cry myself to sleep. She said if I wanted to heal my pain, I had to drink more liquor.
Drink hard liquor
Yeah,
at the age of
14.
it's the manipulation too. That is another red flag.
That is a big
That
red
is a big
flag
red flag. Yes.
because
Big.
children
Because
are
children
very easily impacted.
easily impact.
So,
So
word
word
energy
energy
used on
used on
children
children
is a big
is
red
a big
flag.
red flag.
Watch the
Watch the
conversations your
conversations
children
your
have
children have
in and
in and
outside of the
outside of
internet,
the internet,
around
around
people,
people,
around other
around
young
other
girls who
young
have a
girls who
phone
have a
if your
phone
child
if your
doesn't have
child
one
doesn't
yet.
have one yet.
It's
It's
it's so
it's so
detrimental.
detrimental. Very. That's that is some good information, very informative information that you have given us, and to ever hear your story needs to take into account these hints and tips of um, being human trafficking to prevent being abused too. Uh, and it's horrible. Like I can, you know, just to know what you went through all those years. Um, my heart really goes out to you, and I am so grateful for you that you came out alive.
Barely,
Barely. Barely.
but God had
But
his
God has
purpose,
but you made
Regina.
it. You made it.
Another,
Another,
if I may,
if I may,
another thing you
another
have
thing
to
you have to
keep in
keep
mind
in mind
is that
is
usually
that
women
usually
who
women
have
who have
been exposed
been
to some
exposed to
kind of
some kind of
sexual
sexual
abuse,
abuse,
sexual human
sexual human
trafficking,
trafficking,
or any of
or
those
any of
things,
those things,
they have a
they have a
tendency to
tendency
get
to
into
get
very
into very
toxic,
toxic,
domestic
domestic
violence,
violence,
bad abusive
bad abusive
relationships
relationships,
time and time
time and
again
time again,
until they
until
heal.
they heal.
Because I
Because
did
I did
a lot.
a lot. Yes. And bravo for you. I'm so happy. It takes a lot of courage, um, to be strong. It takes a lot. It takes a lot, and then it is a challenge as raising a family as well. You know, because you have to groom your daughters at the same time. As going through, as being a survivor of domestic violence and human trafficking.
Yes.
So yes, it is a challenge, and everybody have those days. People who go through, who encounter abuse, and have to raise a family. They have those ups and down days. It is not an easy task, and but to be still standing strong, it is a blessing from God.
Thank you, Miss
Thank you,
Regina.
Miss Regina.
I
I
after my
after my
healing,
healing,
after
after
seeking
seeking
natural
natural
remedies to
remedies to
heal from
heal from
everything,
everything,
after
after
doing
doing
ayahuasca, which is
ayahuasca, which
plant
is
medicine,
plant medicine,
and just
and just
renewing and
renewing and
restoring
restoring
myself,
myself,
I made it my
I made it my
mission
mission
at a very
at a
young
very
age
young age
to work
to
with
work
women
with
who were
women who were
trafficked in my
trafficked in my
community
community
and who have
and who have
survived
survived
domestic
domestic
violence
violence
at its
at
worst.
its worst. Yes. At its worst. It's horrible. And we have someone here, Yolanda, Yolanda Graham. She said hello. There is an echo.
Hi, Miss
Hi,
Yolanda.
Miss Yolanda. Thank you for notifying us of the echo, and hopefully it is not lasting through the entire interview. But if so, we will do it again because we're not going to allow no evil force to intervene on the message to bring God's people out of abuse.
Absolutely.
So we will come back, and we'll come back full force with the message. And so thank you so much, Michaela Vega, for being here with me on the Regina Queen Show. And we're going to go ahead and end right now. And as we go off, we want to encourage everyone to pay attention to the red flags. And again, The red flags are someone who wants to take care of you, buying you luxury gifts, training you how to speak at the tender age of 13 years old.
12.
You know, 12. Training from, yeah, and training you how to dress.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the red flags, and there's many more. And then you can always Google red flags of human trafficking. And then we do have the National Human Sex Trafficking Hotline number here, that you can call if you know anybody who are encountering this horrific crime, and a domestic violence hotline number as well. And we would like to encourage you to call those numbers to get yourself, if you are encountering, or someone you know who needs the help, to call those numbers. And if you do not wish to call the national hotline numbers, some people don't like to call those numbers. You know, reach out to a family member or loved one, someone who you are close to, and someone who you can trust.
Miss
And
Regina, a lot of the times people don't use those numbers because the groomer, the godmother, the godfather, if they try to run, speak out, or tell someone, they'll hurt them. And I went through that, so I know what it's like to be too terrified to tell a teacher or to run away because they had something on you, or they were using dark sorcery, black magic against your little brother or whatever. It's just a sad reality that some people don't want to use those numbers because they're too terrified, too scared.
yeah, and I am aware of that too. Like, some people don't like to call when it comes to human trafficking. Um, they don't. But so with that being said, call someone if you don't feel safe with these phone numbers, the national hotline numbers. Reach out to a loved one, someone that's very, very close to you who you feel safe with. And we thank you all. And thank you so much, Michaela, for being here again with me. I admire your strength. And I hope this is clear at the end.
Thank you, Miss Regina. It was a pleasure being with you. And I look forward to many more podcasts where you are
Definitely
empowering many women.
empowering women. Definitely we will. And I would love for you to actually, everyone, Michelle Diaz will be back to share her story of what life was like in a domestic violence relationship. That would be
Thank you,
her
Miss
story.
Regina.
Yes, you're welcome. Have a good one. Good night.
You too,
Good
Miss
night,
Regina.
everyone.
Bye.